everyone. This is my first public indoor event in about a year, so I can't think of a place I'd rather be than with all of y'all again. I'm glad we're all here. I'm glad we all made it. It's really an honor to be able to speak to you. Also my first event of the campaign kickoff. When I decided to run in 2018, I did so because I really believed that our democracy was at risk. And I think that has proven to be true over the last 4 years. And when we announced, I don't think very many people, if anyone, believed that the district was winnable. But we worked really hard nonetheless, and we persisted. And during that time, we did move the district 11 points. It was also the first time and only time in a generation that the Dallas Morning News has endorsed a Democrat in that seat. It was also the first time that the National Democratic Party groups came in to support a candidate in this race. We got the support of the Hispanic Congressional Caucus, PAC, Bull PAC. We also got Emily's List support, which had never played in this district. And to the last 3 weeks of the campaign, the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee targeted this race. And all of that is a sign that the district was becoming more winnable. And when the votes were all counted, we didn't win, but we also didn't stop. Along with other women who ran in 2018, we formed Tarrant Together to help register voters and engage Democrats in Tarrant County, especially in what we saw were 5 flippable state house seats. We worked really hard over 2 years. We also worked in the southern part of the district. I went personally and trained volunteers in Ellis County and Navarro County how to use van, how to cut turfs. They'd never done it before. And we helped them create a voter registration project, much like we were doing with Tarrant Together, to register new people who were moving into their community, new Democrats who were moving into their community. So all of that happened, and then 2021 happened. And I think if anything shows us that our democracy is still at great risk, it's the insurrection and actually also Snowmageddon. Because both of these things show that Republicans are not interested in governing and they're not interested in democracy, they're only interested in power. And so we have to take this seat back and we have to go to Washington and represent the people of this district. The people who still need, very much so, universal, affordable health care. The pandemic has absolutely shown that we have a massive problem in our country of disparity between ethnic groups and economic groups, and national health care would go a long way to fixing that. We also need the $15 minimum wage. No person should be allowed to work full-time and still be below the poverty level. That's super important. We also need to make sure that COVID relief is sped to our small businesses and to our communities. We're not done with this pandemic yet. I don't care what Governor Abbott says, it's not over. Please remember that we need aid, not just a one-off $1,400 check, but thank you, President Biden, for that, and thank you, Congress, for that. There's a lot still to be done, and we need to shore up our margin in the House. So we're working just as hard as we did last time. It's gotten a lot easier, I have to say, because people know the district is winnable. We've raised more money in 4 weeks than we raised in almost the first year of our campaign last time. And we're launching our grassroots campaign today. Kendall Locke, I don't know if everybody here knows him, he's my communications director. Please get with him. If you can help out, we're launching at 11:30. It's going to be via Zoom because we expected rain, which I think we were right about. But we will be out walking every day to reach voters in the district. I'm going to be out later with Marvin Sutton, who is running for mayor of Arlington. He's a sitting city councilman, and we're going to be out working together during the campaign. So please come join us. And so thank you very much for all of your support. I appreciate the support that you gave me last time, and thanks for continuing the fight with us. Thanks.
For the candidates speaking, we're going to allow, because of time, 2 questions from the audience. If anyone has a question, don't be shy. Questions? Going once? Going twice?
What is your stance on immigration reform and profiling of undocumented immigrants and law enforcement taking immigration procedures into their hands?
So I think we have there are two separate problems here that need to be addressed very urgently. One is immigration reform. It's absolutely essential that any of our dreamers be given citizenship immediately. They are the most vetted people in the history of our country, and they must be given citizenship. We need a path to citizenship for all of those other immigrants who have been in our country for years, supporting our economy, and who have families and homes and businesses here. We need to give them a path to citizenship. There's a whole other issue about policing, which is also part of the issue which we must resolve. Our policing system needs to be dramatically reformed. That's both at the federal level and the local level. We need policemen to protect, police force to protect people, not to target and oppress people. And we need to live in a society in which you are not likely to be profiled or targeted or abused simply because of the color of your skin. And we're far from there now.
So as a student, and I think I can speak for a lot of young people, one of the things that I'm most interested in is the prevention of gun violence. And so, because in 2019, there was more mass shootings than there were days in a year. I've lost some of my young friends to gun violence, and I know that I'm not the only young person that has been affected by it. And obviously the answer isn't to take people's guns away, but I know that continuing to do what we're doing isn't the answer either.
Thank you for that question, and I'm sorry about your losses. We've lost an enormous amount of Americans to ridiculous and senseless gun violence. You can absolutely, we have to stop the Republican lie that you don't support the Second Amendment if you want gun control, if you want reasonable gun laws. There are a number of laws that would immediately reduce the deaths, the senseless deaths from gun violence. Those include universal background checks in a system that is readily available, delays on handgun purchases, on allowing handgun purchases, the reduction of magazine sizes. None of these things violate the Second Amendment. We also need laws that anybody who has been convicted of spousal abuse or any kind of violent crime is not allowed to buy a gun. And anyone with mental disorders that might lead to violence should be not allowed to buy a gun. There are so many sensible gun laws that have been prevented because of the donating power of the NRA. And it's nothing to do with safety, it's nothing to do with the Second Amendment, and it's nothing to do with logic. It's just about money and the NRA.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Jack. The next candidate we're going to, let me go back just a second. We had the opportunity to have this breakfast on a short notice. So I do want to apologize to some of the candidates. I tried to reach out, we tried to reach out to as many as possible. If you know of any candidates that are not here today, please meet with me after and at least give me a name, and then I can get a hold of them, because there are so many candidates up and down the ballot. It's hard to reach out to everyone. Our next speaker is running for City Council District 9, and we reached out to another candidate on there who is Elizabeth Beck. She couldn't be here. She was already scheduled for some other appointments, so we respect that. Like I said, to the candidates and to all those who support candidates that are not here, we will be back April 10th, and I would like to have them on as well. So without further ado, let me introduce to you the gentleman running for City Council Fort Worth, District 9, Mr. Fernando Peralta.
Quiero empezar dándole las gracias a los dueños de Nuevo León por este desayuno. También quiero darle las gracias especialmente a Domingo García, porque being a member of the Texas Army National Guard and military, what Domingo has done with what happened with Vanessa Guillén, I had started a conversation that needed to be started again within our ranks. So, Domingo, thank you for standing up for us. So, like Daniel said, my name is Fernando Peralta. I'm running for Fort Worth City Council District 9. That's in if you know where Rosemont, Worth Heights, Fairmount, Ryan Place, all the way up to Riverside and Oakhurst is all District 9. I'm a proud husband of a beautiful wife who's a nurse and a dad of a 3-month-old baby. And so I stay pretty busy. On top of that, I'm a member, like I said, a member of the Texas Army National Guard, president of Las Familias de Rosemont Neighborhood Association. And so I've been doing that for the last couple of years. I know when I was talking to some of y'all before, usually the question that I get is, are you from the South Side? So I wasn't born and raised on the South Side, but I got there as fast as I could. And so for me, since since I was growing up, also I used to come to Todos Santos, and I was a monaguillo for Father Hassel growing up. So that's people like Father Hassel and other folks throughout my life have really shaped who I am, and that's why I'm here today. My mom's a huge part of that. Our strong Catholic faith is what really drove me to life of service. I got to Fort Worth in 2014, and during that time, I was doing homeless outreach actually with Rosa Dominguez right here. She was my coworker, and we hit the streets on the south side because we were one of the only 2 people that spoke Spanish for our homeless community. So I did that. I helped open a shelter down in Lancaster, Trueworth Place, and I was the assistant director down at First Street Methodist Mission. I joined the Texas Army National Guard in 2018, and then now obviously still doing the National Guard, still the president of Las Familias de Rosemont. One of the biggest things for me to run for city council is because I want to bring more Latino representation to our city. We are almost half of the population here in Fort Worth, and we do not have that representation. And so I may be young, but I'm energized and motivated. I'm ready to be boots on ground and talking to all our neighbors. I want to be able to be that voice for our vecinos, for our communities, for our small businesses on the south side and all through District 9 on City Council. I don't have time to waste on foo-foo stuff, on politics, partisan politics. My focus is the issues that affect our community. And that's why I'm running for city council. And so one of the biggest things that really got me motivated to run for city council is just my neighbors. When I got involved in Rosemont, my neighbors had no idea what a neighborhood association was. And that's okay, because in our culture, we don't call it neighborhood association, we just call it knowing your neighbors. Tú conoces a tu vecino. That's what it is. And so that's what we need more of. And the way we do outreach to our Hispanic communities, the way we talk to each other has to keep growing because our city is ready to grow. And we're growing it. Because we're part of this economy here in Fort Worth. And so, I know some of y'all actually know what's going on in Hemp Hill. These are issues that we need to be able to have real conversations here in Fort Worth. And so when we talk about development, when we talk about zoning, when we talk about our small businesses, we need to be able to have different perspectives in those conversations and at those tables. And so again, I'm here, my neighbors know every single time that I go to a meeting in Fort Worth, I always ask, what about our Hispanic community? And that's what I'm going to continue doing. I'm going to keep bringing resources back to our community in English and in Spanish, because Fort Worth can't keep moving forward without bringing us to the table. So again, my name is Fernando Peralta, running for Fort Worth City Council District 9. I'm here to get ready to work. Obviously, I can't do this by myself, so I'm really asking for all your support for this campaign, because obviously this is my first one. But I'm not going anywhere, and so make sure you follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Also, you know, just ask me for my phone number after this and I'll give it to you. Okay? Muchas gracias.
Stay right there, Fernando. Stay right there.
Oh, yeah.
Does anyone have any questions? Remember, we're doing 2 questions per candidate in lieu of time. Does anybody have any questions for Fernando?
Not all at once.
Back up a little, folks. Okay, we got one in the back.
I would just like to make a comment. Fernando is an amazing person, and he will be an awesome representative for District 9 in Southside. He is a very approachable person, and we know friends, family members that live in Southside. Please offer your support to Fernando, and also if you would like to join his campaign to volunteer, it's well needed. So.
Thank you, Norma.
All right, thank you. Any questions? All right. Okay, thank you, Fernando. Before we move on to the next candidate, I want to bring up a gentleman who is part of the Fort Worth Police Department, and he has a message from the new police chief that he would like to share with you. Mr. Martinez.
Good morning, my name is Nestor Martinez and I'm here on the request of Daniel and everybody else to come out here and kind of speak on behalf of the new chief. He wasn't able to make it today, but we will be kind of scheduling things for the future. April's the next meeting, I believe, so he'll definitely be here along with Daniel Segura and a couple other officers that are kind of key in moving our department in the near future in different directions. We have a lot of initiatives coming down. One of them just happens to be here in Northside. The other ones are the new initiative for the community response teams that we have out that are starting to work on Monday. It's going to be a totally different approach to what the community has basically been asking for. Some of these calls that we have out here are not necessarily police related. So we want to be able to have some sort of different approach to meeting that requirement. So we're sending out their civilians to do simple reports, you know, information type of calls, less criminal related and more either social work or, you know, just report writing, information gathering that we want to get out there to the community. So again, it's good to see everybody back. It's been a year. Hopefully these things will continue, and please encourage people to attend these forums and these meetings because they are very important. You get a lot of information. LULAC's doing a great job, so is Daniel. So encourage them for the April meetings to come out here and join us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is the incumbent candidate for this district right here where we're standing. I reached out to all the other candidates in the race, and everyone, like I said, LULAC noticed already had specific plans on their agenda. So, with that being said, let me introduce to you current city council district member for District 2, Carlos Flores.
Gracias, amigo. Thank you, Daniel. And I want to also thank Domingo Garcia, for his staff, LULAC, for putting this together. Muy importante tener estas reuniones, porque hay muchos cambios que andan ocurriendo aquí en esta ciudad. So it's very important to have these meetings so that we can get together and have this important information conveyed because there's a lot going on in our city. Okay, as Daniel said, I'm the council member for District 2. I'm running for re-election. I was elected in 2017. I'm born and raised here in the north side, continue to live here with my family. My husband, father to 2 wonderful children. My wife is my stalwart support, because without her support, I could not do this. This is a full-time commitment. My profession is an aerospace engineer. I've worked for defense contractors, and I've had a wonderful career. But I hit that on pause to do this. What you get is a full-time city council member. As my colleague on council can attest to, it requires that. Anyone that gives you half their time, that will be effective. Okay, so let me tell you what my focuses are. Public safety, especially in these times. We're still in a pandemic.
And then recently we just went through an unprecedented winter storm. And that impacted us here at home in yet another hard way. Okay? We survived that. We're a resilient community. We're a resilient city and a resilient country. We have to keep moving forward despite these challenges. So public safety figures in because our public, more than ever, wants safe communities, wants a safe city. So what have we done in that regard? Like Nestor said, Fort Worth Police Department is looking at changes from within. The City Council has implemented any of these changes. We implemented, just yesterday, first graduating class, CRU, the Civilian Response Unit, 10 specially trained, non-sworn people that are going to respond to non-emergency calls. Takes the offload from the police department so they can better respond with that, and it's not an overwhelming response to a situation that doesn't need it. We're hiring 35 police officers per year, over 10 years. Our city is growing still, even despite the pandemic, at 20,000 people every year coming here to Fort Worth. That's incredible. So we have to grow with that and continue to make investments in our police department. I am not supportive of defunding our police. Just let me come out and say that right now. That is a very fatalistic approach to take. What we do on City Council every year in the budget process and on CCPD, the Crime Control Prevention District, we look at every need and make changes to allocations as they're needed. This recent cycle, what we've done, we put in even more money into community policing to improving relationships between the public and our police department. We also put in more money into community-based programs. All these lead to crime prevention initiatives and efforts are very important. Okay, what else have we done? I think there's a good segue here, safe communities. Again, with COVID, unprecedented times. What have we done on the city? We have brought you vaccination testing, free vaccination testing. In fact, here in District 2, I'm proud to say, it was the very first pilot testing at J.P. Elder Middle School in the entire city, and that set the model for the rest that came. And it's still going on. And we didn't stop there. We got more registration efforts, more vaccinations, all this free, and we're bringing it closer to the communities, such as Diamond Hill, one of the hardest hit zip codes in the entire city. We brought testing and we brought vaccinations. And stay tuned, there is more to come. We are not done yet. I am not done yet. Because I recognize those needs, and I'm going to continue to work hard to make our communities not just safe, but healthy. Infrastructure. Okay, well, what does that mean? Basically, streets, roads, bridges, all these things that we expect as residents to be in good repair. The city has a lot of existing infrastructure that it has to maintain, and that takes a lot of money. The good news is, going into this pandemic, because your city council was very fiscally responsible and made good decisions there, we have great capacity to continue funding capital improvement programs. Every 4 years we have a bond program. That's where we're able to do even bigger projects. In the last bond program, I was able to get 3 community centers: Northwest, Diamond Hill, and Marine Creek Ranch. 3. Think about that. In one council district. And how do we do that? Not just with mere money, but collaborations. I collaborated with YMCA as well as the Eagle Mountain Saginaw ISD to get the Marine Creek Ranch Community Center. Very important that we have good public facilities. We're improving the north side with $5.46 million of community block grant money. That's important because we need to have our public facilities. We need them, especially during this winter storm. Some of them were used as warming stations, which is another thing that we brought on. We distributed water. The city called over 10,000 vulnerable residents to check on them, and we got them services, whether it be the fire department responding, the police department, or MedStar. These are untold stories. We responded the best we could to this emergency as well. I want to notate that we have our neighbors who have also helped us out. Neighbor to neighbor. I helped my neighbors, and I saw a lot of stories around there, so kudos, because that is the Fort Worth spirit. Okay, what else? Homelessness. That's another thing that comes up and that I get a lot of complaints about. The best tool that we have in our toolbox is permanent supportive housing. the city of Fort Worth does not criminalize homelessness. There is no law against homelessness. Unless, just like everyone else, you trespass on private property. We don't expect the police to resolve our homeless issues. We partner with nonprofits to make that possible, okay? Let me give you an example. We have Casa de Esperanza, House of Hope, that just opened up 119 PSH units. That's going to take off 119 people from the streets. And in District 2, 44 units. It's an upcoming unit. We're going to break ground in it probably in April or May. 44 units that I approved for PSA, permanent supportive housing, which basically brings quality housing and supportive services all in the same location. Very important to keep in mind. Okay, so what else have we done? Economic development, very important. Why? Because it really keeps our economy going, especially now. Fort Worth has done pretty good. We put in the most of our peer cities in terms of CARES dollars and preserve the board funds. The closest competitor to us was North Carolina, and that was not close even. We believe in supporting our small businesses as well as our residents. We have developments going on at Meacham Airport. That's an economic driver. I brought one of the first job fairs here in the city of Fort Worth, collaborating with TWC and Trinity Metro. Jobs are important, but with those jobs, we have to provide single-family housing, affordable single-family housing. So we continue to work with our builder community to bring that there. You've probably seen evidence about it on some of the streets in the north side, because there are people starting out in their careers and they need a leg up. So I'm going to start wrapping it up here. There are a lot of initiatives we've done. SB4, Ann was with me on that vote. There are things that we've done as well in terms of 287G, but I want people to understand, even though it's not the city council's job, we step up where we can make a difference. And I'm proud to say, we continue to try. So I'm going to stop right now, open up the floor for any questions. Si tienen preguntas, aquí estoy disponible. Si tienen preguntas para mí sobre los tópicos que hablé, aquí estoy.
All right, so I see a lot of folks here from this district. We're going to go with 2 questions for Carlos. Yes, sir.
What's your position on the community police review board?
Okay, the city council has taken that as part of the Race and Culture Task Force recommendation. Okay, what the council decided at that time, and I'm supportive of it, the police monitor, which is another great public safety aspect that we set up to increase accountability at the city level and at the police level. Okay? I'm supportive of having a board such as that in place to add to the levels of accountability.
Question back there, Norma?
Thank you, Robert, for your service and everything you do for this community. My question is about the homeless at Marine Park. What can we do to, I guess, reduce the population there at Marine Park in a respectful manner for them?
Good question, Norma, and I often see that too, since, I've met with this community, I drive by and I see it. The police have a whole unit, which is specially trained, and they are designated to take care of homeless issues, but they don't do it alone. They do it in collaboration with the code compliance people. If they're in parkland, for instance, Parks and Rec also assist. You can call it in to the non-emergency number or to your NPO, your neighborhood patrol officer, and they will go and speak with them, right? And the police's approach is they reason with them, they try to direct them to those supportive services that I talked about and ask them kindly to leave. If they're causing a disturbance, for instance, or if they have too many of their own personal effects littered around there, well then the city will step in, clean that up, and have them leave. But I urge you to continue to report it because they do get connected with those supportive services. Our approach is not just to tell them to leave, but we try to help them at the same time.
Good to know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just real quick question.
I just wanted to feedback on the homeless situation. One of the ministries that helps feed the homeless, Under the Bridge Ministries, is now having to go through a lot of red tape to get permits to serve the homeless. In the past, they tried to criminalize helping the homeless. And so I feel that people should stay out of it. That's more of a libertarian stance. If people want to help the homeless, they should not be penalized, criminalized, and we shouldn't have to go through all these hoops and ladders to help them. So what is the stance that you have in the city council? Because, you know, we want to help these people, but they're making it hard for us to, and they're trying to make it to where, in the past, I think they wanted to fine us, but I mean, I don't want that to come up again.
That's a good question. Let me answer it this way. It depends on where you are. For instance, if you're under the Lancaster Bridge and you have, even though they're very close in proximity to a lot of supportive services that I told you about, some people still tend to loiter there or camp out and sleep there. And I've seen many people who drive up and they bring food, or they might even bring a grill and cook out there. Some of the issues occur where I've seen them, where when they gather in mass, and sometimes they park in the right-of-way, partially obscuring a lane, that becomes a public safety issue. Again, the city's approach is not to criminalize. There are ordinances that stand that you can do certain things within certain limits. We do rely on nonprofits to help, but what I would recommend, if you have an organization, like a faith-based organization, make an outreach to code compliance and talk to them, see about, getting permitted. If you're permitted to help them at a specific location, that would probably make it a lot easier for you to get those services, whether it be medical or food to those people.
All right. Thank you very much, Carlos. Thank you very much. Is everybody doing good? Yeah. Everybody holding us good? Everybody's topped off? Good. That's what we like. One of the things with the Chorizo breakfast, we want you to come in here happy. We want you to leave happy. It's very important to us. So thank you again for all being here. Thank you again, Carlos. The next speaker is running for school board. It's all about the children. She has been an advocate, a leader, a diverse leader, from vaccines to food drives to Little League everything. She is PTA, she is phenomenal. I did ask all the candidates in her race to be here. Unfortunately, due to the short limitations on time, they could not. They were all invited back for April 10th. So let me announce to you right here from Diamond Hill, Eagles, right, Eagles, Roxanne Martinez.
Good morning. I hope everyone is doing well this morning. Thank you, Daniel, for the opportunity. Like I said, my name is Roxanne Martinez, and I see a lot of familiar faces, but for those that don't know me, I am deeply rooted in the Fort Worth community. I'm a local small business owner. As a matter of fact, my office is just one block from here, can walk. So I own a marketing agency up the road. I'm also a nonprofit leader. My husband and I have been leading a youth association for over 10 years. I'm also a community advocate, and as Daniel mentioned, since COVID, I've really been focusing on fighting hunger and food insecurity, especially amongst our youth and our families, as well as distributing PPE supplies to businesses and families, and now helping with vaccine registration and voter registration. I am also a mom of 2 children in the district. I'm a wife, and I'm a tia of over 20 nieces and nephews that are in 7 different schools within Fort Worth ISD. From Meadowbrook, Morningside, Carroll Peak, to Northside, to Imagemore, I have nieces and nephews all over the district. I am running for Fort Worth ISD School Board, District 9, to be a champion for all kids in the district. As I said, I've been working with youth for over a decade. I've been volunteering in schools for over a decade. I've been really active in the Diamond Hill Pyramid and have helped to increase parent and community engagement there in that school. I'm a product of Fort Worth ISD. I attended elementary school, middle school, and high school in Diamond Hill, where I grew up. And my kids now attend the very schools that I attended. So sometimes walking them through the halls at MH1 Elementary is quite nostalgic for me. I have seen a lot of change over the past 20, 30 years since I was in school. I attended a school at the time that was a failing school, and I saw the lack of opportunities that I had there. I now volunteer in that school, and I see that there have been a lot of changes that have been made. And then I also know that there's a lot of room for improvement and a lot of things that we can work on. I also know the challenges and the struggles that many students in our district face. I can relate to many of them. As a first-generation college student from a low-income family, I know what they're dealing with at home. I know I can relate to them. But I also know that given the right guidance, resources, and tools, that all students can succeed. And so essentially, that's why I'm running, to be a champion for all kids. I spent the past year working with a community program called Read Fort Worth. And through that program, I was able to dive deep into the data to look at third grade literacy scores across our district. Through that program, I was able to look specifically at bright spots in the district to see what is working, what we're doing well. And I did see trends. I saw that schools that are doing really well have strong leadership and dedicated teachers and parent engagement, community engagement. I want to replicate that success across the district. Like I said, we're doing a lot of things well in some schools, and we just need to replicate that success and make it available, give those opportunities to all students. When elected, I'd like to focus on governance that focuses intensely on student outcomes. I also want to continue to advance the equity work that Fort Worth ISD has already laid the groundwork for. I know Ashley and Tito have been big proponents of the racial equity work, and I want to advance that, continue that work. I also want to continue to build strong community school partnerships. I myself have seen the improvement, the impact that can be made when schools and communities, businesses, and families partner. Everyone wins when we all work together. So that's why I am running for Fort Worth ISD School Board. And I would appreciate, here in District 9, which runs the gamut all the way from Diamond Hill, up and down 35, from Riverside, through downtown, through the south side. If you know anyone in that district, please spread the word. They can connect with me through my website, Roxanne4FWISD.com. I'm on the social media platforms, or you can just, get my number, my email. I'm happy to connect with anyone one-on-one. My team is out canvassing safely. We're also, doing phone calls. So I welcome, connecting with anyone one-on-one. So this time, any questions?
Any questions? She's right here in the district. Who has children in this district, in her district? Any questions? All righty. Let's get here. Thank you very much. Okay. Our next two speakers are in a race for City Council. It is City Council District 6. We have Mr. Jerry Williams. You want to come on this side, Mr. Williams? And we also have with us Tisa Leggett. He's running for City Council District 6. So, this was a short notice. Me and Jerry were texting back and forth last night, making sure he could get here. Thank you for coming on such short notice. What I want to do is, since we didn't have a chance to really make an itinerary of today, whoever wants to talk first.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Daniel, for this opportunity. Like Daniel said, he texted me at about 9 p.m. or whatever it was, and I really appreciate the opportunity. I told him I'd be there. I wouldn't miss it for the world. Like Daniel said, my name is Dr. Jared Williams. I grew up here in Southwest Fort Worth. I was raised by two educators. My dad and mom were teachers in Southwest Fort Worth. My dad started his teaching career on the north side at Northside High School, and then finished his career at South Hills High School. My mom was a second grade teacher at Pointer Elementary, and she absolutely loved literacy, and even more than that, she loved her children. Growing up, my parents as educators and my dad as a pastor in the community taught me how important family is, how important neighborhoods are, and how important faith is. And constantly throughout my life, my parents would remind me that son, life is not about living for self. It's about living for your family. It's about living for your neighborhood, and about living your life in a way that completely transforms the lives, in our family and in our neighborhoods. And so that's something I've been doing my entire life. I'm focused on making my parents proud first, and second, making a difference in my community. And so I did what my parents sacrificed their life for. They said, son, do that and go to school. I did that. I went off to Georgia, to Fort Valley State University, where I studied agricultural science and plant science. And I came back to Fort Worth as soon as I could. I went to TCU and UNT, and throughout that time, I was really building my muscle around preparing myself to continue to serve my community. Over the past 10 years, I've worked on so many important issues, and over the past year, we've realized in so many ways just how important those values are, values of family and neighborhood. Over the past year, with COVID, I personally lost 15 people that I care about in my life, and I know so many of you have been affected and have lost loved ones. Over the past few weeks, we were affected by the snowstorm. My brother lives in the district, in District 6. He was without power and water. My cousin, same thing. They had to come over our house. And in that moment, what I recognized was that there was a difference in services that were provided to my neighborhood versus my brother and sister's cousin's neighborhood, and that's not okay. And so when I think about what does it take to solve the tough challenges that we face, I think about the reality that we have not completed our race towards justice, our race towards building a just and prosperous Fort Worth. And when I ask myself, what does it take to build that kind of city? It takes one brick at a time, and neighborhood to the bricks. And the reality is we've left some neighborhoods behind. And that's not okay. And so for me, I'm focused on building strong neighborhoods. Over the past 6 months, we've been running a campaign because we realized that running a campaign isn't about showing up to City Hall and putting your name on the ballot. It's about working with our community, extending the table. Every day, I work at my mom's table. She passed away a couple years ago, and that table means so much to me. When we were growing up, we didn't have much. We had a really small house, and so the table has a leaf, but we could never use the leaf to extend the table. And so that leaf is representative of how important it is that when we lead together. We lead with our neighbors, we lead with our community. And when we do that, we'll never neglect, we'll never forget, and we'll never leave our neighborhoods behind. And so that's what I'm here to do, right? The past 6 months, we've been working alongside thousands of our neighbors, building a grassroots coalition, really centered on what are the issues and what are the values that are important to our community. And I fully understand that you can't govern if you don't know the values and the issues of your community. And that's why we started so early. And so over the past 6 months, we've learned that neighborhoods are so important to all of us, and we've learned that there are 3 issues that I'm sure many of y'all face that we have to solve. The first one is the effects of COVID have affected our economy in ways that are unrealized and are unprecedented. And the reality is that our small businesses, our families, and our workers have been hit really hard. One example, there's a donut shop down the street, small family owns it, and they're $8,000 behind rent because they couldn't get the support that they needed. $8,000, and they're on the brink of shutting their doors. And so when I look at what does it take to build strong neighborhoods, it takes strong jobs in our neighborhoods. In District 6, many of our families have to drive out of the district in order to have a meaningful life to take care of their family. My wife included drives every day to DFW Airport for work, and she's 2 hours a day in traffic. Imagine if she could find her same job in District 6. And imagine if that company was located in District 6 and the social responsibility that they give to the community. We would have a strong neighborhood. And so when we talk about economy, it's not about downtown. It's not about buying a $80 million building downtown that's an ivory tower for the city of Fort Worth. We took $8 million off of the tax rolls. $8 million so that council can have an ivory tower. And meanwhile, folks are struggling with $8,000 a month. I mean, $8,000 in rent behind, and that's not okay. And so when we talk about economy, it's about providing strong jobs so that families can have a strong opportunity in their community. The second thing, improving neighborhood safety. You'll hear folks talk about reducing safety down to budgets, dollars and cents. And to me, it's about our families' livelihoods, right? And around the question of what does it actually take for neighborhoods to be safe? Yes, it takes an excellent emergency response system where when we call 911, our first responders show up, and they show up to serve us. The reality is a week ago, 2 weeks ago during the snowstorm, my dad slipped and fell, broke his fibula. I called 911, and thank God firefighters were there. But we had to wait well over 10, 15 minutes for EMS. They never showed up, and the firefighters encouraged me to say, you gotta get your dad to the hospital. They helped me get him in the car and drove him to the hospital myself in icy conditions, and I say that's not okay. And so when we talk about what does it actually take to make neighborhoods safe, it takes making investments so that our first responders are not overwhelmed by a growing city. Smart growth matters. And we also have to ensure that we have first responders that are able to show up and serve us excellently. And then I think the other part about ensuring neighborhood safety is the reality that community hasn't had voice. And what does it take to make neighborhoods safe? And each one of you know our neighborhoods better than anyone. And have y'all been in the conversation? No. And so for me, I believe it's so important, like my mom taught me, extend the table in the community. And so I think neighborhood safety is absolutely important, but it has to take all of us being at the same table. I think the other thing is, what else does it take to make neighborhoods safe? It also takes having sidewalks. It also takes having roads that are safe, roads that have traffic measures. We had a terrible accident in District 6 where a family lost their parents due to speed racing. And let me tell you, I've grown up in the district. Speed racing has been an issue since I was in middle school. Every night we hear cars going up and down the road, up and down the road. And we can't just chase it with enforcement. We have to chase it with smart growth. And what the reality is we've grown beyond, we don't have lights, street lights in places, we don't have stop signs in places. And the very place where the accident happened, community was talking to no end, advocating to no end. And we didn't get a stop sign, and unfortunately we lost some neighbors. And the third thing is the reality that we must have a transparent, fair, and representative democracy in local government. We need to have leadership that's willing and humbled enough to say that, you know what, it's not me advocating for you, it's us advocating together at City Hall. And that's why when we talk about redistricting, it's important that we have representation. It's important that as we're expanding our council, that we're doing it with a way that includes community voice and that ensures that our community is represented. And the reality is that our council doesn't fully represent the rich diversity that is within Fort Worth. And so I stand before you humbly saying that we got work to do. I bring up these issues not to condemn the city. I bring them up because being from Fort Worth, I know that we can do better. And we have to do better because my nephew Jojo, my nephew Jonah, my niece Jordy, they deserve a prosperous Fort Worth. Your nieces, your nephews, your daughters, your sons, your aunts, your uncles, your mothers, your fathers, we all deserve a just and prosperous Fort Worth. I mean, I'm all in. How about y'all? So I stand here in solidarity saying that I'm ready to roll up my sleeves. I stand here in solidarity saying that our neighborhoods should be excellent and that the color of our skin, the language that we speak, the culture that we represent, the zip code that we live in shouldn't affect that. And I'm here to be a champion alongside of you to say that it's time to do better. It's time to create the Fort Worth that we know we can be. I don't want to just be 13th largest city in Fort Worth. I want to be #1. So let's continue to put our neighborhoods and our families and our community first, and know that I'll always put the people of Fort Worth first. God bless you, and thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? We're going to take 2 questions from each candidate. No?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, it's 682. You ready? This is my cell phone number. 682-715-9793. And then our website is drjaredwilliams.com. I would love to earn your vote and your support. Thank you. What other questions do y'all have? Thank y'all. We got.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, come on up, Lisa. Ladies and gentlemen, candidate for City Council District 6, Tisa Leggett.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. You know, Dr. Williams, I gotta tell you, even though I was being so sweet to let you go first, it's because this menudo is so good. You gotta get it. I can text it, I'll get a bowl. I can text it through and through. So between menudo and chitlins, I'm your girl. I mean all the things. I want to just tell you right now, it is a pleasure and an honor to be with you, LULAC. As a member of the NAACP, I've been active in my community all of my life. While I was born in Fort Worth, Carswell Air Force Base specifically, I was raised between San Antonio, Texas and Fort Worth, Texas. So I'm with family today. How are y'all doing this morning? All right. It's so good to see all of you. And I want to tell you a little bit about myself, a little bit more. My grandparents were raised, my grandmother specifically, on the north side actually, attended I.M. Terrell, was one of the first to go to college. And here I am, a dream realized for her. I went to college myself, undergraduate, just like Dr. Williams, University of North Texas, then went on to UTA, finished my career in journalism and government advocacy. I learned something in this race. Let me tell you something. The word says the last shall be first and the first shall be last. I was not first to put my name on that ballot because of a couple of things. As you see my hand shaking, it is because I have been infuriated. I know exactly what we're feeling today. Don't you forget about that anger that we felt when we asked the council time and time again to sign on to that piece of paper that said, not in our city, we do not want this racism. We want our people, our brown cousins, brothers and sisters to be treated fairly. We asked them to do one thing, SB4. Y'all remember that? Don't you forget that anger. Don't you forget it. I was out there too. I sure was. See, campaigning is a politician thing. I am not a politician, so I'm not going to fight first. You see, you do the work before you fight. Amen? You got to be on the battleground before. I didn't care what job I had. I have always been an advocate for my community. I went to Our Mother of Mercy Catholic School. Absolutely, I know it's a new name now. I know, I'm getting old, I know. Yes, absolutely it is. And what I learned there is that you look out for all. Father Vincent Miametti taught us this, that we are not defined by the color of our skin, but by our character, by what we do. So I decided to do just that. I would like in District 6, not to just be an advocate, but to lead my community to advocate for themselves. Let me tell you about the troubles we're having. I do agree, Dr. Williams. We got to have more jobs. We have to ensure in our district, Southwest Fort Worth, that we are as attractive as in other districts and people want to live, work, and play there. But also, they got to get to DFW. The thing about it is I don't want your wife to leave the area. I want her to be able to transfer or to be able to be transported to DFW airport through public transportation, multimodal. Let's talk about it. Digital equity, we talk about internet, we talk about any type of economic development, you have to have transportation. You have to have it, y'all. Going on 35 South, don't you feel like your life is just on the line? Is it just me? You know, if you go to a teller, right? I'm like, I don't go that far. I'm not gonna do it. North Fort Worth? I can't, I don't know. You get stuck right there. Then we had the tragedy a few weeks ago and we're surprised. We want to blame the government. Y'all, we know those roads are dangerous. We've been knowing that. And our essential workers, the same ones we need to help us with COVID, were killed. We've been knowing we needed public transportation. We had a candidate who tried to fight for us to get the public transportation. Not to you. I know our incumbent didn't come for it. He didn't come help y'all. I know he didn't. The incumbent here in my district had an opportunity to be at that table when Councilwoman Zeta tried to help us with transportation. He didn't show up. So that's why I'm here in my head shaking all things. I'm ticked off. Because who it hurts all of us. See, we're not in competition at all. That's the thing. We are in a fight to educate everybody about what's going on. We have a chance to move Fort Worth forward. So whether you vote for Dr. Williams or you vote for me, you can't vote for the incumbent is what I'm saying. I want to thank you all. I'm not going to take up too much time. I'd love to hear some questions for you for anything I didn't cover, because I really want to get back to the Menudo. I was kind of trying to wait for, the things.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Does anyone have any questions? Does anyone have any questions? Yes, sir, right up front.
Sure.
One of the things when you talk about equity
Yes, sir.
is youth sports, and I used to serve on the board of the Youth Sports Council, and it used to be a much bigger program. But we don't have enough soccer fields for the demands, and I know they want to move away to far North Fort Worth, this ambitious pro thing, but right now we need them now. We need more opportunities for youth for sports. It used to be free to play in all these leagues, and now there's a fee, and it's hard. I mean, you go to Roosevelt Park on any given day, you have like so many different soccer clubs practicing, and back then it was unsafe, and at least I sent us an email to the councilman, and some stuff got done. But you go to Northside Rec, people are there all the time, but we need more accessible soccer fields everywhere throughout the city, and we need more opportunities for you so they can be engaged in sports and not be out on the streets. So, can you talk to that?
Absolutely. I can't wait to. So let me tell you a little bit more about myself. I am an athlete, former athlete. My dad is actually in the Hall of Fame at UT Arlington. My parents met there, Rick Leggett, and my brother was very involved in youth sports. So my dad used to coach, and if you can't tell, I was a cheerleader. And we used to transport the kids all over Fort Worth to basketball tournaments and the like. So I'm not talking soccer field specifically, but I know the importance of young men having to be involved in acting. See, we talked about those CCPD funds, and I'm not going to talk about defunding anything, but listen very closely to what I'm saying. I'm saying to use those funds for those parks. We gave them a whole lot of money. Why can't we use some of those funds for those parks? I don't think we need all of that. I think that we could play with them, couldn't it? Could we bridge them together? So let's get them some parks, and let's get them to play soccer together, and take some of the funds out of that. That was close to $1 billion up to 2030, wasn't it? Something like that? Think we can get a park? I think we can. So I think we hold our current council members. I can ask that question of the current too. And see, maybe we don't fund, but we invest in our kids. How about that? In those soccer fields. So I'm with you on that, 150%.
Any other questions? All right.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. We have two more sets of candidates to speak. The next candidate is representing Mr. Cristineto. Also in the race with Mr. Cristineto for City Council District 8, correct? Is Kelly Allen Gray. I spoke with her last night. She had a very full itinerary. Again, it was late notice. She looks forward to being here April 10th. She sends her love and hopes to see everybody soon. So we'll have Salvador speak on behalf of Chris Nettles. Thank you.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me in the back?
Oh, I turned it off. Sorry. I did it. I'm sorry. I didn't put it back.
Is that better? Okay. All right. Thank you everybody for coming out today. We really appreciate it. My name is Salvador. I'm speaking today on behalf of Mr. Chris Nettles, who's running for City Council in District 8. Just a little quick story about me. So I've been a lifelong resident of District 8. I went to William James Middle School. Right after that, Northside High School right here in this district. and then had a chance to go all the way to Denton to study at the University of North Texas. So right after that, I came back and I realized that the issues affecting the people there were the same issues affecting myself and my family. So I got into contact with Mr. Nettles, and we strategized a plan to improve the community, not just from within, but from the city council perspective as well. Let me just give you some quick issues that we're concerned about, and that are the main issues that the community is facing right now. So there was a recent study done in the zip code of 76104, which is right there in our district, and it basically stated that we had the lowest life expectancy in the state, and that's the state, not just Fort Worth, not Tarrant County, but the entire state. And so these are the issues that matter to us. We have people in these districts that don't have any transportation, no public transportation. It's a joke right now. Buses run late all the time. There's also a lack of economic development. You know, growing up, I used to go to my mom's business right there on Evans Street. She had a little furniture store. And I used to ride in the car seat along with her and see all of the abandoned buildings and condemned buildings and closed businesses. And so it kind of gave me a perspective on how District 8 has become a shell of itself. There is no economic development at the moment. The lack of public transportation is affecting everyone in the community. You cannot find a job in District 8. You have to go elsewhere in the city. All the resources are turned to the west side of the city, and it makes us, and it puts us in a position where not only are we missing economic development, public transportation, but our community and police-community relations are starting to deteriorate. I'm sure everyone's heard of the situation with Tatiana Jefferson and the unfortunate outcome that had. These are the type of issues that make us outraged in District 8. These are the type of issues that make us upset. The lack of representation in City Council, specifically with District 8, is the most outrageous issue that we have at the moment. The incumbent is simply not interested in representing the people of District 8. She is not interested in voicing the issues that District 8 faces, and that's why I'm supporting Mr. Chris Nettles, because Chris Nettles is determined to not only voice the concerns, but he is determined to change the narrative in District 8. We are trying to improve our community. We are trying to improve the schools. Mr. Nettles had a recent chance to help out with a local community garden that was started up by some local activists. And so these are the type of issues that matter to us. We're trying to change the narrative, and we need your support. Unfortunately, in municipal elections, there's always been a low turnout, especially from the Latino groups. So this is something that we're focused on. We're trying to bring out the young Latino vote, as well as the young African American vote, and the young Asian vote, because these are the people that are the future of District 8. And so we're today here asking for your support in that initiative that we have to change the narrative. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions that he can attempt to answer and then follow with Mr. Nettles? Thank you, Salvador. Appreciate it.
Thank you once again for coming to us.
Okay, we do have a special guest here, Mr. Kimball Locke, who is Janus Communications Director, is also very close tied into Kelly Allen Gray's campaign, and he just wants to give a short message on behalf of Kelly.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Daniel, for the invitation. So just here, Kelly Allen Gray is my aunt, and so just to start off, you know, she was elected back in 2012 in the special election, and so she's from the district. She's by the district, and she continues to work with the district. Since 2012, our motto has been action with purpose, and that's exactly what we've done. We continue to make sure that in everything that we do, that is purposeful, that is meaningful, and that has translated through the numerous things that we've done. Even when COVID happened last year, we took swift response into making sure that information was being disseminated through social media, making sure that we were out in the community, making sure our seniors had necessary things that they needed, making sure now that they're being able to be registered for the vaccine. And so we've continued to do the work. We've always done the work. You know, although she is an elected official and her title is councilwoman, that's definitely not her. So she's been that person that has been your representative, been the person that you can come and talk to, and we will work for a meaningful resolution. And so as it relates to 76104, we do know that that's a zip code that is facing numerous issues. And so we've taken the initiative to partner up with Mercy Clinic for one of the, for an example. And so we have done different drives as far as providing COVID testing, providing free diabetes screening, making sure that food is being distributed in partnership with the community food bank and other partners. And so we've continued to do the work. And so, you know, do the research. I'll tell you this, you know, not on behalf of the councilwoman or of any candidate that I support, but do the research in these elections. Make sure that you find out more about the candidates and find out about the individuals and find out about the work that they've actually been doing. You know, oftentimes just because we're not posting things doesn't mean that, you know, we're not out there. Literally 2 weeks ago, we were out canvassing, and I think we spent, out of the 4 hours that we were canvassing, 3 of those hours was just registering individuals for the COVID vaccine. And so we hope to earn your vote, Kelly Allen Gray for District 8. Feel free to visit our website at kellyallengraycampaign.com. You can learn more about her, and I'll be here if anyone wants to connect or just find more about, you know, what she's been doing since being on the council. Thank you.
Anybody have any questions for Kendall that he can relay back to Kelly? Thank you very much. Thank you, Kendall. Okay, now we are going to invite the 2 candidates here that, well, one candidate, the incumbent, Ann Zeta, who is currently on the city council, and Deborah Peoples is running also for mayor. And Deborah couldn't be here today. She has asked her field director, Camille, to be here to speak on her behalf. So let me turn the mic over to Camille.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Camille Rodriguez. Deborah People was not able to be here this morning. She has another event, but she sends her apologies, and I am her field director, and she asked me if I could come on her behalf, since I live right down the street on Clinton Avenue. So this is why I am here, and I am here to tell you about Deborah. She is currently the Tarrant County Democratic Chair, which is very important in trying to turn Texas blue. We have seen how Governor Abbott decided randomly that we no longer need to wear masks when we still have a very high death rate and contracting COVID-19, especially in these areas. So under Deborah's leadership, Beto O'Rourke won Tarrant County in the governor's race a few years ago, and Joe Biden won Fort Worth in the last presidential race. Thank you. And I think we need the leadership like that to get voters to come out. We don't need people telling us what to do. We need to register and vote and get our people elected to represent our communities. She will be here as a candidate who wants one Fort Worth. We don't have downtown dictating what needs to be done in the north side, in the south side, on the east side. She wants one Fort Worth so everyone can have an equal voice at City Hall. She also has issues with tax abatements given to these large developers from out of state, out of the city, and they don't pay taxes, but who gets to pay their property taxes? Us. And they continue to rise, and our services are decreasing, but we do need the big developers, we do need the business here, but everybody needs to pay their fair share of taxes. It shouldn't be done on the backs of citizens. Ms. Peoples received the endorsement of the AFL-CIO because she knows, and the AFL-CIO knows, that Fort Worth is a working class city, and everybody deserves to gain a fair wage. So that is some of the things that Deborah wants, and she is accessible to everybody. People call her Aunt Deborah because she is everywhere in the city. She lives on the east side, her house flooded, she had major property damage with the ice storm, but she still was out there working. She had to stay in a hotel for a week, but she just kept working because she knows everybody else in the city was having issues also. She is very accessible, and she would like to ask everybody in here to vote for her. If you have any questions, her website is deborahpeoplesformayor.com. And if anybody has any questions, or if anybody wants a yard sign, just let us know. And I am the field director, so I'm trying to get people out to vote for Deborah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions for Camille? No? Okay, thank you very much. Our final speaker today is currently on the Fort Worth City Council. Of course, she is running for mayor. We'd like everybody to give a warm welcome to Mrs. Anzeta.
If you all don't mind, I'm going to keep my mask on. I am trying to set a good example. I have been very COVID safe through this entire thing, and I've only had one vaccination so far, so I'm going to keep my mask on if that's all right with the rest of you. My name is Anzeta, and as has been mentioned by several folks, I currently serve on the Fort Worth City Council representing District 9, and it's really wonderful to be here and look out and see so many faces of people that I have had the pleasure and honor of working with in the 7 years that I've served on council. And people who are engaged and involved and working hard in their communities. Not everyone here knows who I am, so I'm going to go back a little bit and explain why I started serving on the council in the first place. My background in education is in city and regional planning. I have an undergraduate degree in environmental studies and a master's in city and regional planning, and I worked as a city planning consultant for a number of years for many of the smaller cities throughout the Metroplex that didn't have their own in-house planning staff. And in doing that work, I learned about community building and having neighborhoods and communities be involved in what happens with their city. So for me, the city has never been something separate from myself. I don't think of myself as being separate from the city. And my effort in serving on the council has been to bring that engagement to neighborhoods across the entire city. And I've done that with District 9. It's been lovely to be able to be the last to speak, which is not an uncommon situation for me with the last name Zeta. I'm very often the last person to speak. But today, I was so honored to be able to be here to listen to these passionate individuals who are stepping up to serve in this community. Because this is the community that I want to see in Fort Worth, where the residents and citizens and individuals in the communities are stepping up and being a part of the decisions that are made about how their city is going to be. All of the things that have been touched on so far that I have been able to work on in the last 7 years and had some success, but also have run into some frustration, not being able to get that ball across the finish line on a few of them, transportation being one, equitable representation being another, the things of neighborhoods that have been left behind in the past. We've made some efforts to make improvement in those areas with our neighborhood improvement dollars that we have done in the years. There's been one in the north side, and Rosemont was finally chosen. I patiently waited because we're using data and prioritization based on need instead of just the squeaky wheel gets the grease. For many years, this city has been responsive to just squeaky wheels. And squeaky wheels is not an equitable way to distribute the resources that this community has, this city has available to the citizens of this city. We cannot just be going and spending dollars where people come and insist those dollars be spent. When we do that, other people are shortchanged. So I was honored this year for Rosemont to be the neighborhood that received that improvement. I believe that we need to step up those efforts because we're not going to catch up and have the neighborhoods that have been left behind get to where they need to be, where the other neighborhoods in this community who have insisted on those resources are, at the rate that we're going now. The transportation and some of the ideas that folks shared about being able to live, work, and play in the community that you live in, that's something that I am very passionate about. District 9 is a great example of that. We have many of the things that you need nearby those neighborhoods. You can live in a neighborhood, you don't have to get in your car for every single trip. Those things exist in District 9, but I have not limited myself to working on things that benefit just District 9 in the 7 years that I've been on council. I have worked very, very hard to bring things to this entire city, but I don't have the ability to do that in the District 9 seat. I have the ability to do that in the mayor's seat. I can put forward priorities that benefit the entire city of Fort Worth, all of the neighborhoods, all of the communities in this city, in the mayor's seat. And so that is why I have stepped up to run for this office. I believe that my background and my education and my experience makes me the most qualified candidate. I believe that my record of service and outreach that I have done and the engagement that I have done and the bringing in of everyone over the 7 years that I have been on the city council speak to the type of mayor that I will be going forward and the ability to be successful in that role. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. You all have been sitting here very, very patiently listening to all of the people that are here today, but I want to tell you that I am excited about the number of people that are engaged and involved. Many people are saying, oh my gosh, we've never seen so many people run for public office. And they're taken aback by that. I think it's fantastic. This is what should be happening. People should be engaged in their community. People should be stepping up. And all of these people, if they are not successful in the end, need to continue to step up and be engaged and involved in this community so that we can continue to grow Fort Worth in a way that benefits those that are here as well as those who choose to come here in the future. So an emphasis on economic development for our small businesses that already exist here, supporting those, growing those, nurturing those. These are people who already live here and love here. And they want to be here and they need to be encouraged to grow here so that they can be successful. So all of that we will continue to focus on, the folks that are here in Fort Worth. And I am an accessible person who, I'm not asking you to come to City Hall and tell me what you need. If you haven't seen me out in the community, I apologize for that. I am out in the community 24/7. COVID's put a little bit of a damper on that, clearly, but I will continue to be that as the mayor as well. And when I first decided to consider running, my announcement was not, I'm running, I have an idea, I have a vision. My announcement was, I've been encouraged to do this for the last 7 years, and I'm ready to do it, and I will do it, but I want to hear from you whether you think that's a good idea. And the overwhelming response that I got was positive, and folks were pointing to the record that I have, the education that I have, and encouraged me to take that step and do that. So that is why I'm running for the mayor of Fort Worth. My name is Ann Zeta. You can find me at annzeta.com. It's just that simple. www.annzeta.com. And Zeta is spelled Z-A-D-E-H. That gets a little confused sometimes. But I'm happy to take any questions. And if you can't get anything answered today, if you have additional things, I'm always willing to talk further. Check out the website. It's got policies and our platforms, and it's changing. We're adding things as people approach me about the things that are important to them.
Thank you very much.
My question is, I plan to vote for you, but my question is, if you're in the mayor's office, transportation, public transportation is my #1 issue. And I commute to Denton every day, and it's a headache, like Tessa was saying, going past Keller and Hazard Road. And they develop, but the roads, the construction, all that doesn't match, the development. Like, there's way too many people in that area. And so, if you do take the mayoral office, what are you going to do with public transit and promote it more?
So, my record on public transit has been pretty strong and pretty public. So what I'm doing now has been trying to move the ball. And as Tisa pointed out, I was blocked by several council members and trying to add more funding to transit. And so in the mayor's seat, I believe I would have the ability to put that a higher priority. I currently serve on the RTC, which is the Regional Transportation Council. That organization is made up of 13 counties, and we make decisions about where federal dollars are spent. And in the last 3 or 4 years that I have served on that board, we have focused a little bit more on transit, not just building roads. So that other alternatives for people to get around. But those are federal dollars. Those are dollars coming from the federal government. And if I continue to be able to be in elected office as your mayor, I will continue to be on that board. And right now of that board. I will be the vice chair next year. I will be the chair the following year. But I will not have the ability to do any of that if I am not in an elected office. So please support me to be your next mayor so that I can continue to make decisions about public transportation and transit with that board, with those federal dollars that we can bring to this community to improve those things.
Thank you. Thank you, Ann. We got time for one more question for Ann. Does anybody have a question? All right.
Thank you all.
We got it. Late bloomer.
I don't want to hug it, so I was giving you.
I got some answers to some of the other questions you asked too.
Okay, well, the one concern I have, and it was something that I was talking to Domingo about, is that, you know, people, the Republicans, they were knocking on doors. Dr. Bird has been knocking on doors. Maddie Parker has been knocking on doors. They already have signs in my neighborhood. I mean, I personally spoke with Dr. Bird, and I liked what he said until I researched him a little bit more. And, you know, Senate before, 287G immigration, you know, those concerns, I think you and Deborah are more online with us. So I would like to see y'all probably have to beat them in a runoff. And so we're already behind the eight ball. These guys have deep pockets, they're already out there. So if y'all get into a runoff, what makes us think, I mean, that's not the reason to vote for y'all, that y'all can actually beat these big deep pockets in a runoff. I mean, we're gonna have to mobilize, and either you or Peoples, I mean, would be a way better option than Brian Bird. So that's my question, you know, what are we gonna do? How can we get Fort Worth to turn blue?
So the mayor's office is a nonpartisan office, so that's not what I'm all about, but the policies that I support are aligned with those values. So I definitely agree with you there. As far as getting out and voting, getting out and talking to people eyeball to eyeball, going on doorsteps, we absolutely plan to do that. We're not holding back, we're just doing it in a safe manner. I get calls all the time from people upset about seeing other people's signs. Thankfully, signs don't vote, but we definitely are working very hard, and we will be out there, and we are a viable candidate that can beat whoever I end up in a runoff with, because I plan to be in a runoff. My first election was 6 ways, and I thought that was a crowded race. This is 10. But I've been there with 6. I was the top vote getter in that first election, and I was the top voter in the runoff, and I will be in this one as well.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now, as we near the conclusion of the meeting, we have our announcement section. So I know as soon as Sylvia found out we were going to have this meeting, she said, I have a very important announcement. Sylvia, can you come on up and you can kick off the announcement section? We asked the announcement